Hey, welcome to Janktown. Will here, and today we'll be talking about the iconic angel coming out of Murders at Karlov Manor, Aurelia, the Law Above. She's a 5-mana value 4/4 legendary angel with flying, vigilance, and haste, and whenever a player attacks with 3 or more creatures, we get to draw a card. Now if a player attacks with 5 or more creatures, Aurelia then deals 3 damage to each of our opponents and we gain 3 life. So we'll be going over a commander analysis, then get into the deck's 7 different themes before getting into the specific card choices for the deck. Now something new I'll be doing in this video is we'll be talking about the cards that just didn't make it. I like to call them the 100 firsts. So if that sounds good to you, I hope you can leave a like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel out, and let's get into it. So when building out our deck, one of the first things I like to do is figure out what is the role of our commander. And Aurelia pretty much reads like a build around. You know, her card draw and her lightning helix modes are both pretty good. And 3 attacking creatures, not that difficult to trigger. Still, obviously we want that fairly consistently, and so the theme of our deck is gonna be to go wide and go aggressive. We wanna be playing Aurelia as soon as we can to get those triggers going, and as soon as she hits the board, we would also want a couple of her buddies already just ready to go in with her. Now remember, Aurelia counts herself among the attacking creatures, and since she has haste, that means she can get in immediately. However, Aurelia is more than just like an expensive Phyrexian arena on a body. She can trigger every turn. And so in the ideal, this means we get to draw 4 every turn cycle. Not likely to happen, and you know, just being able to draw 2, maybe throw in a lightning helix every now and then, that's definitely feasible. Now of course, our opponents will know the value that we're getting, and so they might try to like just send in 1, maybe just 2 creatures to deny us the card draw. And that's why we need to give our opponents reasons to attack. Now over the past few years, Wizards, I thought, has done a really great job in terms of like incentivizing or rewarding aggression. Combat now means so much more than just dealing the damage. You can also get some value out of it. And so whether that's incentivizing attacks with things like curses, monarchy, card draw, or just forcing out attacks because of goad or other sort of like forced combat shenanigans, we want creatures turning sideways. Now I do caution against going overboard with giving our opponents the means to attack, meaning like just outright giving them creatures. I mean, it's tempting to do so, I know, because then we get to draw 4, but it also means that they'll have like extra blockers, sacrifice fodder, you know, just be able to do things because we're giving them resources for free. Not to say that we won't do it ever, but we just gotta be picky when we do. And hot take, it's not even that bad that we don't get to draw 4. All that'll mean is that somebody's open, right? Not every deck goes wide. Some decks just even play their commander and call it a day. So beat down whoever's open, punish them for not having a board, because I promise you they're trying to win in other ways. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy, all that inspirational stuff, you know, like Leroy! These 7 different themes of our deck are going to be our usuals of ramp, removal, and draw, but we'll also tackle go wide, insight, winning combat, and something we like to call UBP, and utilities, bombs, and pets. To be able to get Aurelia to trigger consistently, we need to go wide, and a couple of consistent ways to do that is through Resolute Reinforcements and Loyal Apprentice. Now the Apprentice needs Aurelia to be on the battlefield to be able to create a Thopter. Fortunately, it has haste, as does Aurelia, and so on that turn, we can then swing in with 3 creatures. Hanweir Garrison and Krenko are a couple of other ways to create tokens, although here they need to be able to attack to be able to do so. Something to note though is when creatures enter the battlefield tapped and attacking, they're not really declared as an attacker, so they won't trigger Aurelia. Well, hopefully what we can do is get the Garrison down on turn 3, swing in on turn 4, and then bring Aurelia in on turn 5 to then attack with a whole army. We're also bringing in some cards that'll be able to go wide over time, and Anim Pakal is a 3-mana value 1/2 that will just create tokens as the game goes on. Court of Embereth introduces the Monarch into the game, hey, and also creates a token every upkeep. I know it's just 1, but you know, hopefully this can accrue value over time as well. Illustrious Wanderglyph just creates a token on every upkeep, meaning by the time the turn cycle comes back to us, we'll have 3 gnomes with like haste, or at least they're ready to attack. And Charismatic Conqueror, just a lot of value for 2 mana. Now our opponents can just choose to have their things come in tapped, but hey, at least it gives us a chance to create extra tokens. For burst tokens though, we have Adeline and Rabble Rousing. These things make a lot of tokens really quickly, and with them on the board, hopefully we can even trigger the Lightning Helix mode of Aurelia. Now I talked about being cautious and giving our opponents means to attack, but I think Varchild, Betrayer of Keldor is really good. 3 mana value, 3/3 that if it deals combat damage to a player, they get to create a bunch of 1/1 red survivor creature tokens. Now those tokens can't block, meaning we can still get in reliably without getting chumped by them. A Ganjo Uprising is an X spell that creates a bunch of 2/2 white samurais with menace, haste, and vigilance. Now I know that the samurais we're giving can block us, but at least ours have menace for the turn. You don't even really need to pour in a whole lot into X. The War Games is a card from Doctor Who, and we give each player 3 1/1 white creature tokens, and fortunately those tokens are gonna be goaded. And then there's Tempt with Vengeance. Now I know this can go wrong because we're giving our opponents here just outright free resources, but it's just so good. The tokens do come in with haste, meaning we can profit immediately off of Aurelia, and if they decide to take up on our offer, that means we then create that many more 1/1 red elementals. Now we have a wide army. It's time to incite some chaos on the battlefield. Take the Bait, Taunt from the Rampart, and Spectacular Showdown. These are all just mass goad spells that I think are really effective. Take the Bait's kind of like a fog effect. Taunt, make sure that our opponent's creatures can't block, and Spectacular Showdown is just a good means to be able to close out the game because Double Strike is no joke. Baloth and Fumiko are also a pair of legendary creatures that have essentially like goad, or rather perma-goad tacked onto them. Now Baloth can only just goad 1x creatures for the time being. We're not running a lot of pump spells here. And Fumiko, I mean, I know those creatures can come out and just swing at us, but at least it's just a reliable way to make sure that everybody keeps tapping their creatures sideways. Last couple cards for this theme are Goblin Spy Master and Life of the Party. Goblin Spy Master, I'm not super convinced on this card. The 1/1s can just keep trading off with each other, therefore kind of rendering them useless. Or they can chump block and then we won't even get the effect. But it is something, and something is better than nothing. While Life of the Party can really benefit those who are also going wide with us, and just like that first strike trample is a lot stronger than we probably give it credit for. Now we're forcing out combat a lot. The hope is that, well, we can win those combat stats. Frontline Medic and Eroas, it just means to give our creatures indestructible in some type of way. Having a Menace Indestructible God, that's 7/4, pretty good. Master Warcraft is just a means to outright dictate how combat's gonna go. We can set up for an Alpha Strike, not even our own, while also giving us the flexibility that if there are some troublesome utility creatures that just won't go in the red, we can then take them out through that. Legion Loyalist is a 1-drop goblin with haste, and I like all the abilities tacked onto this. First Strike, don't underrate it, and I also like that it gives some type of evasion and that we can't just get chump blocked by a bunch of tokens. Skyhunter Strikeforce is one of our game enders actually. Melee gives our board a +3/+3 at the maximum. Doesn't sound like much, but if other creatures also have melee, that means they all give each other +3/+3. So it's kind of like a mini coat of arms in that way. Finally, there's Rising of the Day. We really value the haste because some of our tokens are just coming in and they're just tokens. Now let's get into some of the meat and potatoes. And in ramp, yes, we run our staples of Soul Ring, Signet, Wayfarer's Bauble, and Talisman, but I also value land ramp aside from artifact ramp. So land tax, Restoration of Eiganjo, and Archaeomancer's map just means to be able to do so, but an artifact that does it really well is Bitterthorn Nissa's Animus. One of my favorite cards actually right now in the game. It's a Sword of the Anime, but it comes with a body, so it's really good to just be able to trigger Aurelia while also getting a land. Then we also run Curse of Opulence and Descent into Avernus. Curse of Opulence, everybody wants treasure, while Descent into Avernus like really speeds up the game a whole lot. As a utility mana rock though, we also run Cursed Mirror. The Enter the Battlefield trigger on this is just insane. Moving on from ramp, let's talk about some removal. Path to Exile and Excise the Imperfect, couple of exile based spells. Path is very mana efficient while Excise is very versatile. And Lorna the Third Path blows up an artifact or enchantment. Usually those are the things that are gonna give us trouble anyway. And a neat political trick with Lauren is that since she has vigilance, we could swing in with an opponent if we need her to like be the third creature to trigger Aurelia, and we can just ask them to let her through, you know, not kill her, and in exchange, we'll tap her and allow them to draw a card. A couple of staples that I usually bring when I'm playing red are Blasphemous Act and Vandal Blast. But something that's caught my eye from the set is Anjor's Rampage, a 5-mana value sorcery that also has the same effect of destroying the artifacts that we don't control, but it's got some card advantage tacked onto it. For a Wrath though, we're bringing by invitation only. Hopefully we're going wider than our opponents, and so if we choose 2, hopefully that means a board wipe for them, while a minor inconvenience for us. Time to talk about card draw, and this is always an important aspect of the game. Chivalric Alliance, Glimmer Lens, Firemain Commando all read fairly similarly. We get to draw whenever our creatures attack, so this is just some good attack-based card draw, while Commander Liara lets us essentially impulse draw while also reducing the cost of whatever it is that we reveal off the top. A couple of curses that give card advantage are Curse of Hospitality and Curse of Chaos. Now, the Hospitality is insane. I can't imagine anyone not wanting to attack because it's just free value off of someone's deck. I fully expect whoever we curse with this to be the first player to die. But Nelly Borka is, okay fine, she can suspect creatures, we go to suspected creatures, that's all well and good, but the card draw effect on this card is insane. Outside of attack-based card draw though, we also want ways to be able to just outright draw cards. Demand Answers, Staff of the Storyteller, just reliable card draw. Ox Drover, let's draw a card when it enters the battlefield or when it attacks. Sure, we give an Ox token, but nobody really cares about a 2/4 all that much. And Welcoming Vampire, a lot of our creatures do have power 2 or less, so I fully expect this to also be able to trigger reliably. Last card on the draw list is Trouble in Pairs. It's a new card, and the extra turn hate is nice, but an opponent is likely to attack with 2 or draw their second card or cast 2 spells, and so I fully expect this thing to be an absolute house in EDH. UVP time! So we're just gonna plug in some of the holes in our game plan, and Agris Cause is a way to be able to make creatures unable to block that could be pretty big for us. However, the lifeblood of our deck is being able to attack, so to be able to protect our board, we're bringing Boros Charm, Your Temple's Under Attack, and Grand Crescendo. Don't overlook the double strike or the card draw or the token production tacked onto these effects. Last trio of cards in the deck, with the first being War Leader's Call. It's a nice alternate win con, especially if we can't win anymore through combat damage. Aurelia the War Leader, 6 mana value, 3/4 flying vigilance haste, gives us an extra combat step, and having that extra card draw or even that extra lightning helix can be outright back-breaking. Now, speaking of winning the game, if we're going for it, all we really want is a chance. A chance for glory. We get to take an extra turn after this one. That extra turn could be crucial, especially in tight games. Of course, if we don't close it out, then at the beginning of that turn's end step, we lose the game. Now, I really like these 3 cards because aside from fitting in the deck, they also depict Aurelia in the art of all of these. Even if we're not winning the game, at least we're winning on flavor. Now, I did want to highlight 3 cards that didn't make the cut. I call these the 100 firsts. 100 cards sounds like a lot, but it's really limited space. Warstone is the first one I want to highlight, where if an opponent taps a land, they have to tap all the other lands they control. Kinda removes all the control shenanigans that we might have a hard time dealing with. But if an opponent's creature attacks, they also need to attack with every other creature they have. The reason I cut it is because it's a 4 mana value that might do nothing. I don't know. I was kind of on the fence with this one. Another card is Audric Lunar Marshal. 4 mana value, 3/3 that gives a bunch of abilities to all our creatures. We're not running a keyword soup deck, but still I thought being able to give our army vigilance and flying is actually already really good. I cut this ultimately for the chance for glory. In retrospect, if I wasn't going for the flavor, maybe I should have put it back in. The last card I want to highlight is Coveted Jewel. I just love this card, man. It's super monarchy. The only reason I cut it is because it's 6 mana value. We want to run a low curve. I think the curve of this deck is below 3, which I really like. Ultimately, I had to cut it. It's unfortunate, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. And that's it for this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and if you found it useful, I hope you could leave a like, share, and subscribe. All those things really help the channel out. I always forget to say this at the end of the videos, but the deck list is available in the description down below. You could also follow us on Moxfield. We're also called MTG Janktown over there. Life is just a little bit busy now, so video production is a bit slow. I apologize for that. But until next time, stay inspired, friends, and I'll see you soon.